Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Hava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Sodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Sodanandana Pratijana Ranjana Yasodanandana Pratijana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Privadakacharya Asatir Sadashishimad. His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Gaudiya Vaishnava Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Prem Zigaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Shamakun Radhakun Govardhan Ki Jai, Shiva Navandam Ki Jai, Shri Maya Parnavidam Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Ki Jai, Jamuna Maya Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Gau Premanandi. All glories to some devotees, all glories to some devotees, all glories to some devotees, all glories, Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 14, King Chitraketu's Lamentation, text number 27. Shri Shukuvacha iti artita sa Bhagavan Kripalur Brahmana Sutaha Shrapayidva Charum Twastram Twastaram Ayajat Vibhu Shri Sukuvacha Ityartita sa Bhagavan Kripalur Brahmanastutaha Shrapayidva Charum Twistram Twastaram Ayajat Vibhu. Shri Sukuvacha Ityartita sa Bhagavan Kripalur brahmana sutaha Shrapayudvācharam tvastram tvastaram ajajad vibhu Shrisuguvacha Ityartita sabhagavan Kripalur brahmana sutaha Shrapayudvācharam tvastram Tvastaram hayajad vibhu Shrisukuvacha Ityartita Bhagavan Kripalur Bhagavan Sutaha Shrapayudvācharam Tvastaram hayajad vibhu Shrisukuvacha
iti arthaḥ saha bhagavan kripalur brahmana sutta shrapayitva charum vastaram ayajad vibhu
Shrisukuvacha Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, Iti, thus, artitaha, being requested, saha, he, Angir Rishi, Bhagavan, the most powerful, Kripaluhu, being very merciful, Brahmanaha, of Lord Brahma, Sutaha, O son, a son, born of Lord Brahma's mind, Shrapayudva, after causing to cook, Turum, a specific oblation of sweet rice, Tvastram, meant for the demigod known as Tvasta, Tvastaram, Tvasta, Ayajat, he worshipped Vibhu, the great sage. Translation, there's no purport, so we'll read a couple more verses. In response to the request of Maharaj Trutiketu, Angir Rishi, who was born of Lord Brahma's mind, was very merciful toward him. Because this sage was a greatly powerful personality, he performed a sacrifice by offering oblations of sweet rice to Tvasta. You ever heard of Tvasta before? I wonder what demigod he is. What his Okay. So this is the next verse, number 28. O Purkit Maharaj, best of the Bharatas, the remnants of the food offered in the yajna were given by the great sage Angira to the first and most perfect among Chitraketu's millions of queens, whose name was Kritadyuti. Text 29. Thereafter, the great sage told the king, quote, O great king, now you will have a son who will be the cause of both jubilation and lamentation. Unquote. The sage then left without waiting for Chitraketu's response. Purport. The word harsha means jubilation, and shoka means lamentation. The king was overwhelmed with joy when he understood that he would have a son. Because of his great jubilation, he could not actually understand the statement of the sage Angira. He accepted it to mean that there would certainly be jubilation because of the birth of his future son, but that he would be the king's only son and, being very proud of his great wealth and empire, would not be very obedient to his father. Thus the king was satisfied, thinking, quote, let there be a son. It does not matter if he is not very obedient. Unquote. In Bengal, there is a proverb that instead of having no maternal uncle, it is better to have a maternal uncle who is blind. The king accepted this philosophy, thinking that a disobedient son would be better than no son at all. The great sage Cāṇakya Paṇḍita says, rthaḥ putreṇa jātena yona vidvān dhārmikaḥ kāṇena cakṣuṣā kimva cakṣuḥ pīḍaiva kevalam. What is the use of a son who is neither a learned scholar nor a devotee? Such a son is like a blind, diseased eye, which always causes suffering. Nevertheless, the material world is so polluted that one wants to have a son, even though he is useless. This attitude was represented in the history of King Chitraketu. Om Jnanatamānandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakṣuṣ Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Ukam Gotavācālaṁ Pangunang Hayate Garim Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shigurum Dinataranam Vanchakalpatubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this amazing pastime is continuing here. Now who is this this great sage, Angira Rishi? He's actually, yes, it's mentioned here, he's one of the mental sons of Lord Brahma. He is the father of Brihaspati, who is the priest of the demigods. It's mentioned that Sukadeva Goswami, while he was speaking to Purkit Maharaj, he mentioned to Purkit Maharaj that he's still performing austerities on the bank of the Ganges. Now he was born a long time ago, like millions of years ago, but he was still, I don't know if he's still doing this austerity, but at the time of Sukadeva Goswami 5,000 years ago, he mentions that he was still performing austerities on the bank of the Ganges. And he's also, just like Narada Muni. Narada Muni is a transcendental spaceman. He goes all over the universe, not only this universe, other universes, and even to the spiritual world. So in Gira Risi, he's like that. He also travels around with Narada Muni, and that's how they came. The second time they came together. So it's the first transcendental Sankirtan team, traveling Sankirtan around the universe. And there's a pastime in the Krishna book of this demigod named Gandharva, Vidyadhara. Narada, Nanda Maharaj, and some of the cowherd men and cowherd boys also, they were going to worship Lord Shiva, Shivaratri. And while they were there, a snake came and started to devour Nanda Maharaj. Must have been a big snake. Of course, not as big as Aghasura, but it was devouring him, it was swallowing him. And Nanda Maharaj started crying out for help. Krishna! Yeah, Krishna. And the cowherd men saw what was happening. They got some logs that they were on fire, and they were beating the snake. But he wasn't deterred. He kept on, devouring Nanda Maharaj. And what did Krishna do? He came and he put his foot on the snake. And as soon as he did that, this demigod came out of the snake body. Beautiful demigod. And then Krishna asked him, how was it that you got this horrible snake body? He said that he was one of the Gandharvas in the heavenly planets. Very beautiful, sang beautifully, very popular, famous. And he saw Angira Rishi, who was elderly and ugly and maybe deformed, and started laughing at him. Not good. So he cursed him, became a snake. But the curse turned out to be a great benediction. It's pretty amazing how that turns out sometimes. Somebody does some terrible offense, and he gets terrible curse, but it turns out to be a great benediction. And what a great benediction. He got touched by the feet of Krishna, and he got completely purified of all material contamination. Became a pure devotee. It's amazing. Huh? This is the mercy of a devotee. Krishna is very merciful. Devotees are very merciful, even in circumstances like that. So Vidyadhara, he was proud of his position, his wealth and his beauty and his voice. And so what is it said in the Srimad Bhagavatam? Janmaisvarya Shruta Shrivir Edamanam Vanapamam Nairahartya Vitatum Tomakinchana Gocharam. Queen Kunti, the great Queen Kunti, she says, you are very easily approached, but only by those persons who are materially exhausted. But those persons who have high birth, Janmaisvarya, opulence, Shruta, education, Shri, beauty, they cannot call out your name with feeling. So that's a curse, actually. To be very beautiful, to be very wealthy, to be very strong, to be very educated. Huh? Unless you surrender to Krishna. Yeah. Just like in our movement, we don't see very many very wealthy people joining, or very strong or beautiful. Although in Hungary, Miss Hungary became a devotee. Also in France. Not so much in America. But yeah, it's actually a disqualification. So, but devotees are very kind. Sometimes they get the mercy of a devotee. So this pastime of Angira Rishi, this is pretty amazing here. Also, he's such a good preacher, such an amazing PowerPoint he's making here with this Chitraketu, because he was suffering. King Chitraketu was suffering so much. He had all these wives and no son. For a king to have no son, that's horrible. And he's starting to think, I'm not going to have a son. This is not good. So then Angira Rishi comes, and he sees that he's a little disturbed. And devotees are very kind. I bless you that you'll have a son. Now he's so happy. I'm going to have a son. He's so joyful. I'm going to have a son by the mercy of this great sage. So Krita Dyuti, has this son. Of course, I'm going ahead a little bit. So he was suffering so much because he didn't have a son, but then he has a son, and this son causes more suffering because he leaves his body untimely. Yeah. It's pretty amazing, huh? So this just wakes him up. Just wakes him up. And because he brings the son back to life. It's like, whoa. It was my destiny. So that's some powerful preaching. And the result, what's the result of that? He became a pure devotee. He became a pure devotee. So it's very powerful. So the so-called happiness in this world, it's not real happiness. As Devotee says, his favorite verse, Yehi samasparsa javoga dukkha yonaya evata adyantavanta konta inate saramate buddha. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which is due to contact with material senses. Such pleasures, they have a beginning and they have an end. It's like I was talking to some boys last night at the program, and I was telling them that the nature of this world, there's some pleasure in the beginning. I asked him, you had a girlfriend in the past? He said, yeah. You still have her or no? So it was so nice in the beginning, right? Oh yeah, it's so nice. And then, yeah, it became very bitter, very painful. Yeah. So this is the nature of this world. It's nice in the beginning, but eventually it wears off. The so-called pleasure wears off. Therefore, there's no real happiness in the material. Yeah. Happiness is in service to Krishna. This is the pleasure of the soul, inner happiness. And therefore Krishna says, Nasti buddhyo yuktasya nichayuktasya bhavanaha. And Krishna, he says, if one is not connected to me, then he cannot attain happiness, he cannot achieve the perfection of life, nor the goal. Yeah, you can't achieve the ultimate goal of life unless one is connected to Krishna. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to connect to Krishna, and by this connection, then we experience this happiness. But we have to get over this illusory happiness, maya sukhaya. It's like, as you all know, I'm trying to. Many of you may know, maybe not all of you. I'm trying to noise-proof my room, because you got Grand Avenue, it's a noisy street, and it's a challenge. Hasn't happened yet. But I was thinking, as we were working on this, I'm thinking it'd be so nice to be Maya-proof. No Maya. Much more difficult. Much more difficult to be Maya-proof. Why? Because Maya is so powerful. Daivi he sugana mai mama maya dharadya. Mama viye papajante maya mitam tarantite. Krishna says this divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is very difficult to overcome. But one who surrenders into me can very easily cross beyond it. So when Krishna says something is very difficult, it's going to be very difficult. Right? So therefore we have to really take shelter of Krishna. And Krishna, he has a tendency to help those who are trying to surrender to him. And Chitraketu, after this amazing, dramatic experience he went through, he decided to go towards Krishna, not try to find happiness in this world. The sensual, this material enjoyment, it's sensual darkness. It's sensual darkness, just darkness. But then there's bhakti, there's devotional light. There's darkness and there's light. Like Prabhupada had this amazing conversation with a captain of an airline. Prabhupada, he's on the plane and he's flying, and the captain comes by and he starts talking to Prabhupada. He says, if God is all good, then why is there evil? And Prabhupada said that yes, God is all good, but there's the front side and there's the back side. Well, actually, first he gave the example of the sun. If you're facing the sun, then you're in the light. Right? You're in the light. But if you turn around, then you're not in the light of the sun. You're in the darkness. You're in the shade. So Krishna, he is all good. Just like he gave the example of the back and the front. They're the same body, but one is not as important, the backside. So evil is there when we turn away from Krishna. When we turn away from God, evil is there. When we face Krishna, then we're in the light of Krishna consciousness. So the captain was very impressed with this. People turn away. So many people turn away from Krishna. And therefore there's so much ignorance, so much nonsense going on throughout the world. So much sinful activity. Like I was speaking to one person about this. And he said he had been a religious person, but he became a little what's the word? He not disillusioned, because he went into illusion by turning away from God. But disillusioned with the particular belief he was following, let's say. So then I pointed out, wherever you see some organization, there's some intelligence behind it. There's an intelligent designer behind it. Practically everything that we see, computers, cars, all these, so many, there's an intelligence behind it. So whenever you see organization, there's intelligence behind it. So look at the universe. I mean, it's so complex. It's so amazing. The stars and the sun, the moon, and here on this earth, the plants, the vegetables, the fruits, so many nice things. So there must be some intelligent design behind it. And he said, all right, I accept that. But then he said, but then there's the rules. People don't like the rules. You got to follow rules. Though there's a God, you got to follow the rules. Yeah. So why follow the rules? slowly become healthy again. Just like if someone is diseased, he goes to the doctor, and the doctor, just like I went to the doctor yesterday, and he gave me some medicine. And now if I follow his instructions, maybe I'll get back to normal again. So the doctor gives medicine, gives some, and the diet. And in this way, if the patient follows, then he becomes healthy again. But if the patient, he goes to the doctor and then he doesn't follow, he's too impatient. So Krishna gives us rules so that we can become healthy again. And he's a good physician. He knows, how we can be healthy again. So he gives us these rules. We have these 4 regular principles. We have this chanting of 16 rounds a day. So this helps us to become healthy again. I might have mentioned this before, but there was one disciple of Srila Prabhupada who said, Prabhupada, this movement is so nice and the philosophy is so nice, but if we could just have 3 regular principles instead of 4, this movement would grow so much more. You could figure out what that one is, right? Yeah. Of course, gambling, right? If you didn't have this rule of no illicit sex, it would grow so fast. Prabhupada said, no. No, I'm not interested in having many stars. But if I could just have one moon, if one pure devotee can come out of this movement, it'll be a success. So, yeah, Prabhupada and Krishna, they're interested in the quality, not so much the quantity. Just like there was one person, Swami, who he started this movement, and he would sell mantras. And just by chanting this mantra, you'll become enlightened. And he sold a lot of mantras. They're expensive too. Very expensive now. I got one of those mantras. $120. That's back in '77. Now it costs $1,500. Yeah, inflation. But the mantra did nothing for me. Prabhupada said, I could have also made so much money. Because the Hare Krishna mantra has how many syllables? 16 syllables. No. 32 syllables. 32 syllables. Now for my mantra I paid $120 for 2 syllables. 2 syllables. No, it's a silent mantra. It loses its potency when you say it out loud. So I won't say it out loud. Prabhupada said, I could have made so much money. I could have had so many followers. Just chant this mantra, give me money, and you'll become enlightened. Prabhupada said, no, I didn't come here to cheat you. And actually it's interesting that this person, this Swami, he went into some meditation for 3 days in the Himalayas, some cave in the Himalayas. And the disciples were anticipating, what was the result of your meditation? He said, the result of my meditation is that Krishna consciousness is the highest. Yeah, yeah. And he sent, this Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, he sent many of his disciples to Prabhupada. He said, you want to go higher? You go to Prabhupada. Go to HG Vijaya Dasa Prabhupada. Yeah, he gets some benefit for that. And one disciple of Prabhupada said, Prabhupada, he's understanding that you're senior. Well, maybe he can give his whole movement to you, Prabhupada. All the disciples, because he sent his senior disciples to you. And Prabhupada said, Prabhupada's detached, Well, he has his movement, let him carry on. If he wants to send them over, send them over. But I'm not going to go and, beg him for his disciples. But that's one of these swamis that understood, the position of Srila Prabhupada. And we're very fortunate that we heard from Prabhupada, and we also came to the conclusion that Prabhupada is the best guru. No selfish interest. Just wanted to spread Krishna consciousness. Just wanted to see that everyone become happy. This is the mission. To see everyone become happy in Krishna consciousness. What's the Sanskrit, Javed? Yeah, how to see everyone happy.
Let everyone be happy.
Sarve sukhino bhavantu. This is the mission. It's a big challenge. To see everyone become happy. But that's what's happening. People are joining this Krishna consciousness movement, and they're becoming happy. There was one devotee on book distribution, and he approached one lady, and she was suffering. She expressed, "I'm suffering. I'm just going through such difficulty." And he said, "Well, this will help you. Read this book, and it will help you become happy. And chant this mantra. This is a very purifying mantra." So she thought, well, I ain't got anything to lose. Let me try this out. So he gave a donation, took the book, and took her mantra, and she went. And she came back an hour later, and she said, "This is a happy mantra." She said, "I've been chanting this mantra for an hour, and it's made me so happy." And the devotee was like, "Wow, never heard that before. Happy mantra. It's a happy mantra." It's a happy mantra. If we chant this mantra sincerely, then we become happy. And therefore, Prabhupada said, chant and be happy. This is a result of following the instructions of Krishna, following the instructions of Prabhupada. We'll become happy, satisfied. We'll experience this inner happiness, not this external, flickering happiness. Here today, gone tomorrow. So we're very fortunate, and we should try to help others become fortunate as well. So is there any question or comments? Yes, Javita Prabhu. Yes, please. Always welcome.
Is it okay? So some of you may not know about this kind of incredible event that happened. I think it was '68 in Ohio with Allen Ginsberg at the university there.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing.
Ohio State University.
Ohio State University. It's right across the street from the temple. Where they have this little temple now. They've had for many years. Actually, it's there. And so I was just searching here for Sukhino Bhavantu.
Yeah.
And Prabhupada quotes this at the end of his lecture there.
Oh, really?
And if I could just read it, it'll take about 1 minute to read this. So he's winding up his lecture. And he's encouraged them to read Bhagavad Gita. Please try to read this Bhagavad Gita as it is. There's a whole hall filled with students. And I think this is before the kirtan, because then the kirtan was just epic. They were all the students were dancing. They were jumping up and down.
Oh yeah.
And Allen Ginsberg was there, very famous. It was an amazing thing. There's a story in Back to the Godhead if you're interested. So here's what Prabhupada winds up with this lecture. He's got all these kids here. They're all eager to hear. Please try to read this Bhagavad Gita as it is. It is science of God. You will understand. You will realize. And chant this Hare Krishna mantra. This Hare Krishna mantra will cleanse your heart. And after cleansing your heart, if you read one chapter of Bhagavad Gita, you will understand gradually what is God, what you are, what is your relationship with God. And when you understand all these things and you develop your love of God, you become perfectly happy. So we want to see you all happy. That is our program. Sarve sukino bhavantu. Every one of you become happy. But you must take this path, how you can be happy. This is the path, Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Applause. And then they had this incredible kid.
Yeah, there was hundreds of students. Yeah, and they were all dancing. It was one of the most amazing. Prabhupada was, he must have been amazed. So Prabhupada brought so much happiness because he's connected to Krishna. So this should inspire us to also get more and more connected, just focused on Krishna, and we could also experience this happiness, which is there. What is the nature of the soul? Eternality, bliss, and knowledge. Yeah, this is the nature of the soul. Yeah, Satchidananda. So Krishna has that unlimitedly. He's a reservoir of pleasure. So the more we connect to Krishna, we also experience this real pleasure, this spiritual inner happiness. Yes, Bhakti Saul.
Thank you for the nice class, Vijay.
You're welcome.
I've been kind of wondering about this position of Lord Brahma. When he creates living entities, is it that he just puts out like one set of jivas, then the jivas keep on multiplying? Or is it that he's constantly making like a new form for every jiva when they take a body? And then I have one more question.
Well, he creates like there's mental suns. I mean, that's inconceivable, right? But then there's Prajapatis, and they multiply just like Daksha. You know, he's a Prajapati. There's many Prajapatis, and they would create living, because there weren't many living entities on the planet. So he wanted procreation, and it's interesting that the four Kumaras, the Lord Brahma wanted them to procreate also. They weren't interested. No, they don't want to get entangled. So they're incredible sages. They didn't get over the age of 5 years, because somehow they knew after 5 sex desire is going to creep in. So they didn't want to, they decided to stay 5 years old. And they traveled around the universe preaching Krishna consciousness. And in the Bhagavatam, we're going to hear the teachings of the four Kumaras. So sometimes Lord Brahma, he creates entities, but they can also be independent. I mean, thanks, Dad, but we don't want to procreate. We want to be good devotees of Krishna. We just want to devote our lives to Krishna. So they rebelled. They were rebellious sons of Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma, he was so upset, he was so angry that they wouldn't surrender to his instructions. What happened? Lord Shiva, Rudra, came out of his forehead. That was the birth. Another mental son, but from his anger came Rudra.
Nice. And then another question I had, you mentioned about the position of the guru and how you could be so merciful, like in the middle of your class. And then I was wondering, how can somebody not get confused, like, how would you say? Yeah, not misunderstand like the position of the guru, because I think it says like don't worship the guru, but don't see him as an ordinary human.
Yeah.
But then sometimes the guru, he may be like in a position of management, or like, and he's not doing so good. So you're like thinking like on a mundane platform, it's like, oh, he's not, and then you're finding faults with them with this on like a material base.
Yeah, very good question. Therefore, it's said that one should not associate, one should not be around the spiritual master too much. Familiarity breeds contempt. And contempt means disrespect. So therefore, it's said that just as one should be careful when one is around fire, because you could harm yourself. Similarly, when one is around the guru, you could harm yourself because you could become familiar. So therefore it's better to serve the Vani than the Vapu, because and many disciples of Prabhupada, they became familiar with him and committed offenses. I was just in LA, I was mentioning this, in Prabhupada was in Hawaii, and there was they had some board in the temple there, and Prabhupada wanted something, and the temple president there said, well, I'll discuss it with the board and get back to you. You know, Prabhupada's the founder charya of the society. You know, we'll discuss it with the board, and then we'll get back to you. And then they never even got back to him. It's just like, and here in Los Angeles, there was a big conspiracy. You know, there were Prabhupada would find his picture upside down, and he would open his books and they'd fall apart. And they were censoring his mail, and on the books it wouldn't say His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya, just A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, because what happened was in India, the godbrothers of Prabhupada, they were telling a couple of Prabhupada's disciples that no, he's a member of the Gaudiya Math. You know, he's a member, and the Acharya is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And so this was going. They were sending letters around the movement, and devotees were thinking, "Oh, so Prabhupada's a member of another." So, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he's the Acharya. So it really disturbed Prabhupada. So that's why he left. He went back to India in 1970. He wasn't planning on going back to India. He was happy just preaching. He was doing good. Also, he was making a lot of disciples in America here, and he was just going to stay, but he became disgusted, you know, and he left. And it's interesting. That's the reason he left India. He was disgusted because he was people weren't following, people weren't coming forward to join. You know, he made one disciple, right? What was that Indian Acharya Pavakar? But it was very difficult. So then it became difficult in America. So then, actually, Prabhupada mentions that Dwarkadish spoke to him. You go to India, I'll take care of everything. You know? So, God's Then he went to India, and so much happened. So many temples. You know, he got the Mayapur going, and he got the Vrindavan. Oh yeah. Thousands and thousands of people went to this pandal in Bombay. You know, they were making so much advertisement. Eventually, they just put a big helium balloon, Hare Krishna. So people all over Bombay can see it. And it was a huge success. It was 20,000 people came. So Prabhupada said, "Wow," because he had brought, when he was there alone, wasn't having much success, but he brought his dancing white elephants, and that just made a huge difference. With his little Saraswati, you know, little blonde-haired girl. They never seen a blonde-haired girl in their life, you know. Now she's dancing and chanting Hare Krishna. It was just like what is this? You know, they couldn't believe it. You know? So, Krishna's mercy. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vijaya Krishna Prabhu.
I have a question.
Okay, let's see if I can answer.
Yes, Vijay Prabhu, thank you very much. You're most kind. Dandavat pranams. Prabhu, if I may ask, can you read the first sentence of the translation to text 27?
All right, here we go. In response to the request of Maharaj Chitraketu, Angira Rishi, who was born of Lord Brahma's mind, was very merciful toward him.
Yes, that is the quote. So based on this quote, Prabhu, and thank you very much, my question is, why is it that in general, rishis are very merciful personalities?
because they've received mercy from Krishna. And they get so much mercy from Krishna, and they're so happy, they're so joyful, that they want to share it. Just like on book distribution, you might have heard while you're distributing books, sometimes people say, well, why are you doing this? So I tell them, well, I've got something very nice here. This knowledge is so nice. I want to share it. I want to give it to you, so you could also experience this happiness from receiving this knowledge. And they think, oh, okay, all right. And then they take a book. So this is Krishna's mercy that they're experiencing the joy of Krishna consciousness, and they don't want to keep it to themselves. Like Prahlad Maharaj says, Naivod Vijaya Paradiratya Vaitranyas Tvadvirya Gayana Mahamrata Magna Chitta. So Chetato Vimukchetas Indriyartha Maya Sakhayam Paramudvado Mudhan. Prahlad Maharaj says, I have no problem. My life is wonderful. Why? Because I'm engaged in Krishna consciousness. But I am concerned about all the unfortunate souls who don't have Krishna consciousness, who are suffering, who are trying to enjoy this Maya Sukhaya, this illusory happiness. I am concerned out of love for them. So it's interesting that a devotee, he's very happy, but he is sad at the same time. He's happy because he's so Krishna conscious, and he's sad to see others suffering. Para dukkha dukhi. He sees others suffering, and it gives pain. This is a devotee. That's only in a devotee. Yeah. Is that okay?
Oh, Vijay Prabhu has to be expected. Better than okay. Very helpful. Outstanding answer to my question. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.